age 12, many of our kids already have beginning stages of hardening of the arteries. I have an article of a little boy that's learning to walk at 12 after a stroke. So we're seeing younger and younger kids have heart attacks. 1 in 3 of our kids is obese. 1 in 3 will have diabetes in their lifetime. More than 25% of our children take prescription drugs on a regular basis. So nurses, I don't know how long ago you trained, but I remember when I was in elementary school, the nurses put Band-Aids on skinned knees. And now it's EpiPens and inhalers and and it's just different. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that kids as young as 8 years old can now be treated with Lipitor. Dallas was the proud city to do the first lap band gastric bypass on a 10-year-old. Houston soon followed suit, and now it's going on everywhere. I get so mad. Every time I do this talk, I just get so mad. It reminds me why I do this. This is our daughter Angela, and of course, for every child you go above and beyond, and you do special things for them so they don't have as many challenges. And she already had challenges, so we were looking for nutritional therapies and things that would help her have an edge, with her mental retardation through Down syndrome. And so I started looking at places that drew her blood and did special supplements. I would ship her blood to California, and it would go to Canada, and we'd mix the stuff and just whatever we could do, right? We did piano lessons, and we did everything for our kids. And so when I started my research, I wasn't thinking about my health, I was thinking about hers. And I went all the way back to the beginning and realized that God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with its seed in it. They will be yours for fruit. Then I started studying the American Native Indians. They made plants into medicine, right? All the herbs, and we're doing that again with essential oils. People are figuring out that plants have healing properties. And then Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Has anybody had a chance to watch a documentary on the history of allopathy or naturopathy? Sometime, yes, our naturopathic doctor. Sometime for fun. Seriously, go in there and Netflix or whatever and search it and watch it. See why our healthcare is the way it is in this nation today. Food is not neutral. It either builds your body up or it tears your body down. So you know this stuff, right? You know it. What's the challenge? Doing it. Absolutely. Consistently. Yes. The news isn't that fruits and vegetables are good for you, it's that they're so good for you that they could save your life. Why? They have phytonutrients, antioxidants, carotenoids, lycopene, lutein, zeaxanthin, tocopherol, flavonoid, enzyme, fiber. Everything you need is in there. Now we're getting to the good news. What if 75% of the people in the hospital were healed? What if all the people you know in your family that you love and you care about didn't have these diseases? What would that do to our economy? Do you realize we're in a heap of trouble? Anybody trust the healthcare reform? No. Every single institution out there, Diabetic Association, Heart Association, Cancer Association, this is what you'll find on the website. Fruits and vegetables. Eat as many as you can. Back when I started studying nutrition, it was 5 a day. Now it says more matters. You buy a bag of carrots, it says more matters. You can't eat too many. The color, the variety, there's many kinds of vitamin C. You don't just want to stick with oranges. You need many colors of plants. Okay, this is probably the most favorite part of my talk. Did you know that fruits and vegetables have an address? Did you know they're smart enough to know where to go and what to do? I'm going to sing some head nodding, really, because let me take you on a little story, a little rabbit trail. So we had started Juice Plus. We'd seen major changes, and I'll tell you more about that later. And then I started my master's program in holistic nutrition. And I would go to Juice Plus conference, and I was studying my books, and I'm learning that food has an address, it has energy, it goes to specific organs, and I'm thinking that it's just bizarre, it's crazy. And then I go to work, and I'm firing up the X-ray machine, and I'm shooting photons, which is energy. Then we're doing EKGs, which measure heart wave energy, and EMGs are brain energy. And then my nuclear medicine certification, I'm working with a physicist, and I said to Lyle, what is this thing? I don't remember this. You know, he goes, you're going to be using number 43, which is technetium. And it's an element out of the earth. And he said somebody really smart figured out how to mix it with some normal saline, tag it with a radioisotope, inject it into a person, put them under a camera, and see where it goes. And each one of these had an address. So if you were doing a brain scan, a bone scan, body scan, whatever you're doing, you would use a different element. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, it's out of the earth. They have an address. I'm like, oh, is this like food? And he said, yeah, it's like food. So I'm like, golly, that is amazing, because they discovered that every time you eat parsley, it cleanses your liver. Every single time parsley knows to go to the liver. That's why carrots are good for the eyes. Grandma knew, right? Red wine, it's good for the heart, the vessels, because those carotenoids and the reds, the purples, and the blue go straight to the endothelial cell. They relax it, they reduce the inflammation, they make the vessel more supple, which then prepares you to not have stroke, right? So isn't that fascinating that food has an address, knows where to go and what to do? They work in synergy. It's like a football team. You need lots of different people doing different things to get the job done. When people show up in the ER, they don't come in with an overdose of broccoli. You know, you don't overdose on food. It works together in nature, and it's perfect balance. They're alkaline. Remember that cancer cell? I'm going to show you an acid alkaline food chart here in a minute. But if you have a choice to eat an orange or to drink a glass of orange juice, which one do you want to choose? Orange. Orange is alkaline in your body. Orange juice is acidic. Acidity promotes inflammation, it feeds cancer cells, and on and on. So why is that? Because they've stripped the fiber, they've pasteurized it, heated it up, and then it turns to pure sugar. So you want to eat alkaline. And then again, fruits and vegetables are safe. No lactose, no poison control. Okay, so here's some of my favorite books. I started off reading the China Study, and I was absolutely floored. I'm going to tell you more about that in a minute. The baby version of the China Study is Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He's got great charts and graphs in there that shows you how am I going to get my protein, how am I going to get my calcium if I'm finding them through plants. So I'm sitting in the OR one day, and I'm waiting for my turn, and I'm reading in the China Study, and they have a group of patients that have heart disease. You can see the artery on the left is sclerosed down. They're going to go put a stent in that. And they said, let's do a study, and let's take one group of people with heart disease and give them a plant-based diet, give them more fruits and vegetables, and ask them to exercise. Let's take the other group of people, and let's keep just shoving pharmaceuticals in them and putting stents in their arteries. So within 3 years, they had to stop the study because the people on the left side just kept dying. Because you just put a stent in one place, it doesn't stop cardiovascular disease from spreading, right? So I'm sitting here reading this, and remember what I'm doing at work. I'm helping in amputations. I'm doing angiograms, all this kind of stuff. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, you mean the doctors could tell people to eat fruits and vegetables and exercise and we wouldn't have to be doing all this stuff to the people? And I got mad. And I went to our cardiovascular surgeon. I won't mention his name. You won't know him, but I try not to say it. Just in case. You never know. It's a small world. And I said, if I showed you something that could help your patients, they could comply to it, it's easy, portable, has research, would you look at it? He said yes. And I said, I'm going to give you a research packet. It's got 24 studies in it. And it was all about the Juice Plus products, which is fruits and vegetables and berries. And he said, okay, I'll take a look at it. So 3 months later, he said, I finally finished it. I go pick up the packet from him, and I said, what do you think? And he said, it's the best body of research I've ever seen. I said, oh, okay. I thought that was favorable. Remember, body of research. I said, are you going to recommend it for your patients? I mean, I didn't care if you used me to get it or somebody else. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, why? He said, number one, to you. Number 2, I don't know anything about nutrition. Number 3, I don't get paid to talk about nutrition. And number 4 is outside of the standard of care. I'll get my hand slapped by the Texas Medical Board. And that was the day I went, yeah. I've got goosebumps thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the Hippocratic Oath? So the government's not telling us or helping us do this, and the doctors, a lot of them are not helping us do this. There are some. So whose responsibility is it? Ours. Hey, the people that are in this room tonight, guess what? It's now your responsibility. If you don't learn anything else tonight, you are your own healthcare advocate. Because you can't just trust the FDA and the labeling laws and on and on. So these are some of my favorite videos. I cannot tell you enough about Forks Over Knives. Watched it 15 times. The guy's artery that was in that book is in that documentary. Raw for 30 showed you how diabetic 2s are completely reversed in 30 days based on blood work. Fed Up, my gosh, if you want to know what's wrong with our kids in our schools, this is scary. There's people getting paid really good money to put chemicals in food that makes it addictive so people cannot quit eating it. And that is what is part of the obesity problem. So watch this stuff, educate yourself, understand sugar. I mean, why is it such an addiction? You know, and it is, isn't it? I mean, it's really a hard thing to break. So let's talk a little bit about if you had perfect food, where would it come from? Nutrient-rich soil, non-genetically modified seeds. We would rotate the crops. Remember back in the old days? In the Bible, they would rotate crops. Old farmers rotate crops. There's a reason for that. You let the ground lay fallow. The soil is the nutrients. You would use organic pest control. You would allow things to vine ripen. You know how long they're picking our food before they're shipping it and irradiating it and coming across the border? It'd be fresh and local. So where does most of our food come from? Up here. Where do you get your produce from in the winter? California. Did you know California is in the worst drought in the world? I was just there in Napa Valley doing a bike ride through the vineyards, and they're pulling almond trees left and right because they can't water them. You know, I mean, we've got problems. I feel really bad for our farmers. You know, how are they supposed to grow when they are subsidized per pound? It doesn't matter if the food has any nutritional value. You know, it's just per pound, and they're subsidized for the GMO corns and all that. So get a little bit more educated in the agricultural challenges of today. Your kids depend on it. 1954, if you ate 1 cup of spinach, the amount of iron you would receive is comparable to eating 60 cups of spinach in 2003. So that's why when I started studying nutrition, it was 5 a day, and now it's 7 to 13 a day. Athletes should be eating 13 to 18 servings of fresh raw fruits and vegetables every single day because they have so much oxidative stress and inflammation in their body. If they want the best recovery and performance.
Say that again. Can you go back to that? So you're saying that the amount of iron that's in that one serving, 54, you have to eat
60 times the amount today. That's why the serving.
Why is that?
Because the soil has no more nutrients. So what is happening is synthetic, and Andrew, he was our waiter at this amazing organic restaurant. He could probably help us with this, but the synthetic fertilizers actually strip nutrients out of the soil. And the chemicals that we're putting on the soil, the way we are over farming and just expecting and demanding so much out of the soil, and it can't rest, and we're not replenishing it with manure and the proper stuff. So our farms, if you go in and test, you know, here's the deal about organic. We know organic's good, but organic doesn't mean vine ripen. It doesn't mean that it can't be sprayed once it's picked. After it's off the vine, it can be sprayed and it still has an organic label. So, you know, there's a book called Rich Food, Poor Food. Get educated. What does a pastured chicken versus a free-range chicken mean? You know, learn the laws. It's unfortunate that it's so difficult. You know, but you've got to learn it. I'll be glad to answer more questions afterwards. So, nerve toxins. Did you know the pink, the yellow, and the blue packets were designed to excite your neurons to death? That's what a neuroexcitotoxin is. According to the EPA, 60% of herbicides, 90% of fungicides, and 30% of insecticides are known to cause cancer. Why do we let them put it on our food? Why are we not stomping our feet and not buying it? In Europe, if you buy macaroni and cheese, they flavor it, they color it with beet powder. And just recently, I think because of one girl, they have switched from using red dye. And one woman got an army of people pretty hot and said, "You quit putting this stuff in our food." Here's the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. You can Google this when you get home. If you're not going to do everything organic, at least do the stuff on the left, because that's what really absorbs the pesticides. Here's your acid alkaline food chart. Again, you can Google this when you get home. But you'll notice white bread, alcohol, Coke, sugar, dairy, nuts, legumes, meats, and fish are on the acidic side. Your alkaline side are going to be your plants. So I know I've thrown a lot of bad information at you. And there's a lot of decisions to make.
Leanne, can you go back to that slide for me?
Yes. Sure can. And you can Google even prettier versions of that. That are more comprehensive. But then we have to decide where we're going to invest. Because is it not true that everything I'm talking about is extensive exercise, organic produce, essential oils, I like massages, you know, the gym, you know, all of that costs money. But I can tell you my husband would roll a patient out after a cancer treatment and give one $7,000 injection. Just one day they would get one $7,000 injection. So this can bankrupt a family when you get a diagnosis like this. So here's the deal. You're not going to not pay for your health. You can pay on the front end, you can pay on the back end. If you pay at the front end, and if you're investing in all these things we're talking about, there's no guarantee you won't get sick. There's no guarantees. You know, this is a tough world we live in. There's chemicals in the water here. You saw that in the video. But it's just like when we leave here tonight putting our safety belt on, seatbelt on, it sure increases the odds if we were to get in a wreck. So you've got to invest, because otherwise, I don't want to be 65 and depending on Medicare and Medicaid. I mean, I just don't want to be in that system. Okay, so unfortunately, if I were to ask you how many raw fruits and veggies you had today, how many cans? Okay, without juice plus.
Oh.
Oh.
6.
Over 6.
6 exactly.
Over 6. How about 10? One person in here got 10. You're supposed to be eating between 7 to 13 a day, every day. So here's the deal. The average child in America eats 1 to 2. Woefully, woefully low. What are their cells being made out of? The food we eat, right? So, unfortunately, I didn't have my bottle, but Julie has hers. I took Centrum, and it had a lock top and a poison control on it, and it said will cause osteoporosis with long-term use. Right on the label. Who reads the label? Don't we assume that if the FDA puts it on the shelf, it's safe? And this is what I gave my children that I loved so much. Aluminum lake, aluminum. Google aluminum lake and see what it causes. Keep out of reach of children as made by pharmaceutical companies. Would pump your stomach if you eat too many. So, this article was written in 1992, and it says, the Real Power vitamins. The new research shows they may help fight cancer, heart disease, and the ravages of aging. Guess how many studies have come up that prove that to be true? 0. Yes, if you take a vitamin, it'll raise the markers in your blood. It'll raise the levels in your blood. But there are no protective effects at a cellular level on your organs. Doesn't mean that they can't be healthy. It's not all vitamins are created equal. I still take supplements. But they have to be clean, pure, pharmaceutical grade. And most of them are not. Most of them are from China. Most of them have crap in them. Sorry, it's fun. And at the radiology tech, we see a lot of them come through the bedpan. You know, you see them right there in the x-ray. They don't get absorbed. And in the case of these really crummy vitamins, you hope they don't get absorbed. We had a guy in Shreveport, Louisiana, when I was doing this lecture, and he said, "Lady, these are the worst thing that I deal with, is vitamins and porta potties." I'm like, oh, that's unusual. So we try to supplement with vitamins, but there's not the research showing. If you eat an apple, it's only 5 milligrams of vitamin C. If you put 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C in a capsule in your body, they measure the same in the blood, but the protection comes from the apple. So I'm not saying go take supplements, but get your nutrients from food if you can. So who do you think wrote this? Was it Dr. Oz? This was a long time ago. You know, we are just now getting back to this, and it's just too bad that we've suffered so much. I always tease that this is my husband. But I hope by now you realize that I want you to take responsibility for your health, not the government, not your doctor. It's not your neighbor's fault, your mother's fault. You know, you're the one that has to take responsibility. So here's the facts. The U.S. government has spent billions trying to find a cure for heart disease and cancer. Their conclusion, disease is easier to prevent than it is to cure. They recommend 7 to 13 servings of raw fruits and veggies every day. The problem is nobody does. So this is what it looked like at our house. Every meal was a struggle. And I literally, if I could go back, I would. I raised my kids on Pop-Tarts, fish sticks, McDonald's. The whole time I was pregnant, I ate crap. And I wish I could go back. And I can't, but I can teach you guys to not do that and to help your friends not do that. The plate I really prefer is this one. Half your plate, 3 times a day, fruits and vegetables. And there's no dairy, and I'm not going to get on my dairy soapbox right now, but if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'll be glad to tell you all about it. So now we know that crushed up apricot pits kill cancer cells. How many people have had an apricot pit this week?
I love those.
That's awesome. You're the second person since I've been up here. That other gentleman was from Africa, and he said his mother ground up apricot pits and put it in his food. Yes. Yes. So now there's something called epigenetics, epigenome research. Has anybody heard about this? We now know you can turn off cancer cells, you can turn off the cells that make you sick. Just like a twin, one twin will have a disease, the other twin won't. My mom, of course, had osteoporosis. She was such a stick. She was Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball, all rolled up into one. That's why she had the red bow on her head. But bless her heart, look at her arthritis. They ate a highly acidic diet. Highly acidic. And they didn't know this information back then. But because I changed my diet and added Juice Plus, my bone density is now normal, and I haven't had a drug to do that. So imagine that I'm working on my cancer patients, and I've got all this knowledge now about I can teach them how to turn off the receptors to get these diseases. And they come to me, and I'm working on them on the day of their surgery, and they're like, do you have any resources? Any books or websites that are scientifically based? I can trust them. Everybody's giving me all this advice. I don't know who to believe. So my husband worked at Cancer Center. This is what I did. So I put together this amazing hyperlinked list of websites of my mentors, just really good stuff to look at. And one of my patients took it to administration. And I got the phone call, we need to see you. And so I walk in, and there's all these people sitting there. And they said, Leanne, what is this and where did this come from? And I said, well, it's a resource list that I'm giving to my patients. And they said, Did you ask to do that? Did anybody tell you you could do that? Let me just tell you, if you ever do that again, they wrote me up and I had to sign all this stuff. If you ever do that again, you'll be walked to your car with no warning. And so that was when I decided I can't do this anymore. And one of my last patients before I left my job was having a double bilateral prophylactic mastectomy, meaning she was having both breasts cut off and she didn't have cancer. She was 28, and I was physically sick. I was waiting for the doctor to come, and I was in the hall just leaning over, and my chest was busting open, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. You know, how do you not share information with people? I got in the medical field to help people. So I gave my resignation and left 3 years ago, and now I do this. So your DNA is your destiny. You know, you can change it. It's not your, I mean, you can change the DNA. This is a telomere. It's the tip of your DNA. That shoelace. If that tip comes off that shoelace, it's no good, right? You got to have a new tip. Once these tips are gone, they're gone, and your DNA mutates. You age faster. They develop random cells. They grow. They expand them into cancer cells, etc. Guess what? The only thing is that protects those tips on the DNA. It's raw fruits and vegetables. It's enzymes. It's plant food. This is a chart of free radical oxidative stress. This comes from inflammation. The only thing that combats this is antioxidants from fruits and vegetables. You know, you can take drugs to put a Band-Aid on things, but it is not fixing it at the cellular level. And remember that vessel I showed you that actually healed itself, opened up? That's what food can do. It can reverse the damage. So this is your rainbow of protection. Remember all the carotenoids in here. Remember every food is designed to go to a different organ. Your whites aren't your white rice, your white bread, your white milk, your white sugar. They're cauliflower, leeks, garlics, mushrooms. These are the whites you need. And because this was such a challenge for our family, I was working at a hospital and a nurse kept trying to tell me about Juice Plus, and I'm like, what is it, what is it? Finally, I listened to a CD, and she showed me what it was. And I listened to Dr. Du Bois talk about antioxidants, phytonutrients, and I'd never heard all this stuff. I've been in the medical field a long time, and I've never heard this. So I listened, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start this for my kids. And I didn't want to care. I mean, here I was a mess, a hot mess. I didn't really care. I just wanted them to get raw veggies in their diet. And I wanted to quit fighting them at the dinner table. So what this is a company that grows their own food. They contract out small and medium-sized farmers. They grow to their specifications. They allow everything to vine ripen before it's picked. It's juiced and dried at a low temperature. I'm going to show you a really short video here in a minute. Everything is pesticide and herbicide free. It's non-GMO. It's gluten free. Nothing. No preservatives, no dyes, no colors, nothing. And it has a nutrition fact. So, what you'll notice is when you pick up a bottle of Juice Plus, you'll think there's nothing in it because there's nothing on the label. When you go buy an apple, what does it say on the label? Apples, right? It's self-explanatory. So there are 10,000 known plant chemicals in an apple, phytonutrients. This has 10,000 things in it. Selenium, boron, zinc, manganese, on and on and on. When they try to make a vitamin, they can only pull out 31. And that's an isolated, man-made nutrient in a lab. Everything's pulled out of its element, it's heated up. This is food. When you buy a bag of spinach, it says spinach, right? It doesn't tell you how many thousands of nutrients are in that bag of spinach. So that's why there are reps for Juice Plus, because there's education involved. If they were to put this on a store in GNC, you'd walk up and go, oh, that's nice, and walk off. This is food. And we're going to show you how they do this. Everybody goes, how do they get those fruits and vegetables in there?
We're in a position to deal with the best growers in the world. And most of these growers specialize in a particular crop. And unlike what we see in the supermarket that goes through a very complex distribution chain and is probably picked a week or two prior to the time we actually buy it, Juice Plus produce is allowed to ripen and is picked at the peak of ripeness. It's important because the nutrient value develops in the later stages of growing. And in fact, we deal with the types of growers who have facilities right there next to their fields where they can instantly clean, wash, and process the fruits and vegetables, and it's the state of the art in terms of preserving the nutrient value of fruits and vegetables. Well, of course, the juice then goes into our proprietary drying process. Everything stays very cold until the very last minute, and then the warmth required for drying is applied, but it's maintained at temperatures that don't damage the nutrients. It's an enormous difference between the quality of Juice Plus and the quality of typical fruit and vegetable juice drying. So the powders are then shipped to our final manufacturing partners who do blending, encapsulation, packaging. Their equipment is state-of-the-art. Their certifications are second to none. And all of our manufacturing partners, whether they're growers, juicers, encapsulators, they have quality control procedures that we have reviewed and approved at every step of the way. All of our partners have their own labs, do their own testing, and they provide certificates of analysis that match our specifications before they ship the product. Quality control is essential for a quality product. And I can say with complete confidence that there is no nutraceutical or nutritional support product made in the world at a higher quality than Juice Plus.
And I like to say he knows because he's the chairman of the board of the Council of Responsible Nutrition over the United States. So he's over all the labeling and the supplement laws and all of that. He's a go-to guy for me when I have a question. His name is John Blair. So what they do, go back, is they masticate this produce with the skin on and the seed in. Remember how we talked about that seed? You're getting the seed, you're getting the skin, no pesticides, no herbicides. Remember how we talked about energy and how each food goes to a specific organ? Dr. Smokey Santillo was a naturopathic doctor running a cancer clinic doing alternative cures for people 30 years ago. He got his dad into that clinic after he'd been through all the standard care that didn't work, and he was sent down to see Smokey. He couldn't keep anything down. Smokey said, if I don't get some nutrients into him quickly, he's going to die. So he started juicing fruits and vegetables and doing enemas, rubbing his body with oils, giving him the fats.